What's up, everybody? It's Chris here to give my UFC Fight Night 17 predictions. A little late in the week, but been kind of busy, so gonna kind of not go over every single fight and be kind of brief on some of the fights. But do what I will. There's not a lot of big names on this card, to be honest, but there's a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who are kind of trying to establish themselves in the UFC. And sometimes with these cards where there's not a lot of big names, they end up making a lot better fights. They end up exceeding the expectations. So, whereas last weekend's card I was really looking forward to, but it was a bit underwhelming overall. I think this one may be more exciting than what it looks like on paper. So first up, real quick, Matt Riddle. I got him beating Steve Bruno by decision. Riddle's only 1-0, and Bruno's got the huge experience advantage. He's 12-4. But I think the UFC likes Matt Riddle. They liked him on The Ultimate Fighter, I believe. And they think his style can beat Bruno's. Bruno's got quite a few submissions, so he might be able to catch Riddle in submission. But I think Riddle should have a pretty good top control game based on training in Arizona Combat Sports. So I'm going to go with Riddle by decision. Next up, Kurt Pellegrino against Rob Emerson. Pellegrino's coming off the win over Taylor Tavares. Emerson's coming off the win over Manny Gamborian. First round KO, which was an awesome KO. I'm going to go with Pellegrino here. This is basically a striker versus a grappler match. And Pellegrino is much more skilled with the jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I think Emerson will get better on the feet, but I think Pellegrino shouldn't have too much trouble getting this to the ground. And either controlling there or submitting Emerson. Probably by submission. Next up, Rich Clemente versus Gleison Tibau. Clemente's coming off the lackluster loss to Maynard. Tibau's coming off back-to-back losses to Joe Stevenson and Tyson Griffin. I think this is a really tough, even match fight, but I'm going to go with Clemente. I think he's a better overall fighter. Both these guys are good on the ground. Clemente's a little bit better standing. But Tibau hasn't really shown me too much in the UFC thus far. He's been competitive, but he just really hasn't shown me anything too impressive. And Clemente's got a lot of, I think he's just a better overall fighter. He's got a lot more experience, and I just think he's going to win this fight. I think the matchup favors him slightly. Next up, Dan Miller against Jake Rosholt. Rosholt making his debut in the UFC, coming from the WEC. Only 5 fights thus far against Miller, who's got a lot more experience. Only has 1 loss, which was a split decision to Mike Messenio, which isn't too bad of a loss. Messenio is also in the UFC. Rosholt's the better wrestler by far. He's got the credentials as far as a lot of accolades in college wrestling and whatnot. But I think Miller's the better fighter, obviously. Rosholt's not very experienced yet at this point. And I think that's going to cost him. He didn't look too impressive, I don't think, in his last bout in the WEC. Got hit a lot clean. Got good wrestling, but also he looked a little gassed in that fight as well. Haven't seen too much of Miller, to be honest, but I just think his experience advantage is going to be a little too much for Rosholt. Rosholt should be able to control him on the ground here and there, but I think Miller's going to be able to control more of the fight on the feet, and he may even be able to submit Jake. Not saying he will, but I just think this is a big step up in class for Rosholt for the time being. Not saying Rosholt can't win. He can win with an effective top game, but I think Miller may just be a little bit of a step, too much of a step for him at this point. Next up, we got Matt Danzig against Josh Neer. Both guys coming off losses. Danzig lost to, let me think, who did he lose to? I bet on that fight too. Clay Guida. Josh Neer lost to Nate Diaz. Neer's coming into this fight. Had a DUI not too long ago around the holidays. That might be a factor in his training, just a little bit of a distraction. Neer's second Ultimate Fighter in a row winner he's going to fight. I think I'm going to go with Danzig here. Should be a good, close, competitive fight. See it going all 3 rounds. I don't think either fighter has a huge advantage over the other, to be honest. Both really well-rounded fighters that don't necessarily excel at one aspect of the game, but are pretty good overall. I just think Mac's a little bit better. I can't really say where. I just think as far as overall, I think he stand up, they're pretty much even. On the ground, they're probably pretty much even. I think Danzig may have better wrestling and better takedowns. I think that's maybe where he'll have the slight advantage, but should be a good competitive fight. But As I said, Neer had the DUI. I think that might affect his training a little bit. He caught a lot of heat for that. So I'm going to go Danzig by decision. Next up, we have Anthony Johnson against Luigi Fioravante. Johnson's coming off the huge head kick win over Kevin Burns. Fioravante's coming off a win over Brody Farber. Should be a good fight. Stand-up fight, most likely. Although Johnson should be able to take it down to the ground if he wants to. He's a better wrestler. I just think it's going to be a stand-up fight for the most part. Both guys like to stand and trade. Unfortunately for Luigi, I think Anthony Johnson's got the advantage there. Speed advantage, strength advantage, overall striking ability advantage, to be honest. Should be a good fight. Luigi Fioravanti is a tough fighter, always gives it his all. Usually hangs in there long even when he's losing. But I think Anthony's going to be able to pick him apart on the feet. Probably take him down here and there to, get some points, rack up some damage on the ground. I see Johnson winning by TKO, second or third round. And what should be another impressive performance by him. Next up, we got Cain Velasquez against Denis Stonyk. Never heard of the guy. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. Cain's coming off a win over, I believe, who he beat in his last fight? Jake O'Brien. First round, I believe, demolition. He got injured. He's been out for a while. He's a guy the UFC is really trying to showcase in the heavyweight division. Possible future heavyweight contender for the title. Make for a good fight against Brock Lesnar if Lesnar holds the title down the line. Like I said, never heard of Stonyk. I believe he's a stand-up fight, though. Either way, like I said, this is going to be a showcase fight. Cain's going to come in, take him down, dominate him on the ground. First round stoppage. Maybe I'm underselling Stonyk. No disrespect, I've never seen him fight, but I'm just going on what I believe the UFC wants from Cain. Or Kanye. Not sure how you pronounce his name, but I'm going to go with Cain. And I think Cain's going to look really impressive here. Main event, Joe Lauzon versus Jeremy Stephens. Was supposed to be Joe Lauzon versus Hermes Franca. Unfortunately, Hermes got hurt in training. So Stephens is coming in as a late replacement. Stephens is coming off the sick uppercut KO win off of Rafael Dos Santos. Joe Lauzon's coming off a win himself. Before that, he lost to Kenny Florian. Should be a good fight. Both young guys. I like Jeremy Stephens. I'm a fan. But unfortunately, I think the style... this is a good fight. Joe Lauzon doesn't have the best takedowns. Stephens doesn't have the best takedown defense. I think Stephens is better standing. But I think Lauzon's better on the ground, and I think that's where he's going to take advantage of this fight. I think he's going to be able to get... I think he's going to be losing on the feet first round. But I think he's going to be able to get Jeremy down somewhere in the second or third round and be able to execute a submission game and get a submission. Not that Stephens can't get out of subs. I've seen him do it before. But I don't think he has the best submission defense. And taking this fight late, I'm not sure he's going to have the best cardio. Especially going late into a fight, which should be a tough competitive fight. Should be a good fight, possibly fight of the night. But I'm going to go with Joe Lauzon by submission. That's pretty much it for now, guys. Probably be back on Sunday to give you my thoughts on the fights. But until then, I'm out of here. Bye.